inspired me to do this performance, which I believe is to be the first in a series of 22. And as in the case of the Fool, all these performances are inspired by the tradition of Tarot. While you might know the Fool from other contexts already, he's a figure that dates back a long time. Originally known as the king's jester, the Fool had his daily life in the royal court, entertaining the king and his guests, cracking jokes and literally making a fool of himself. His outfit was often colorful garments, pointed shoes, if any, a jester's hat decorated with tiny bells, and sometimes a scepter with a small face on top of it, depicting either the jester or the king. Giving voice to the puppet placed on top of the stick at times allowed the jester to speak boldly in place of himself or his master. Thus the jester was likely to tease or even mock the king, using plenty of sarcasm and humor. Some stories suggest that the jester was sometimes punished or even killed for his flirtatious way with reality and truth. In later folklore, the trickster or clown is incarnated as a clever, mischievous man who tries to survive the dangers and challenges of the world by using trickery and deceit as a defense. Also, there are many fairy tales about the king who wants to find the perfect groom for his daughter by ordering various trials or tests. No brave prince or knight managed to win them until a poor and simple man comes along. With the help of his wit and cleverness, instead of fighting, he evades or fools monsters and villains and dangers with unorthodox manners. Therefore, in these fairy tales, the most unlikely candidate passes the trials and receives the reward. Clumsy Hans, for instance, is one of them. He is what you might call foolish. He has no intellectual wits, no expensive clothes, and no polite manners. However, upon meeting the princess, his performance impresses her so deeply that she allows him to marry her, to become king, and to rule the whole world, or at least the kingdom. One could claim that the Fool is a true performer, that boldly dares to speak the truth. However, you are never really sure when he does so, which leaves him in a somewhat ambiguous state that is both cursed and blessed. But as in the case with fiction, trick, and general performance, art performances included, I guess this is a circumstance you just have to accept and enjoy. In Tarot, the Fool seems to be the character most difficult to place in relation to the other characters and Tarot cards in general. He is, however, considered to be the very beginning and end of the line. The average Tarot deck consists of 78 cards, whereas 22 of them are called the major arcana, or the trumps. The trumps are 22 different characters that are considered human archetypes and representations. This line of archetype is introduced by the Fool, who has the number 0. He's followed by the Magician, with whom he shares quite a lot, especially in relation to trickery. The other trumps are as follows, in chronological appearance: the High Priestess, the Empress, the Emperor, the Pope, the Lovers, the Chariot, Strength, the Hermit, Wheel of Fortune, the Hanged Man, Death, Temperance, the Devil, the Tower, Stars, Moon, Sun, Judgment, and finally the World. These archetypes are representative of the challenges you can expect to meet in life, and eventually, when having met and dealt with every single one of them, they constitute what you might call a true and enlightened self. In In tarot, the Fool is considered to represent the querent, the subject approaching the cards for guiding, as well as individual as such. Thus, the Fool becomes synonymous with a person traveling through life, which I guess counts all people in this room and outside of it. So, along his way through life, one after another, he will meet all the archetypes just mentioned. Every time he meets a new character, he or she will challenge and eventually guide him further on, deeper in, and closer to his own enlightenment. The reasons are known in tarot as well as in popular culture and general folklore. The Fool is almost always depicted as a man and never a woman, until today maybe. To me that seems a little unfair. Gender-wise, the depiction of the Fool could at least have been a more neutral character, especially since the Fool is considered as liminal in all aspects of the term. He is in between and above dualistic system and conception. Thus the Fool has the privilege to operate regardless of good and evil, rich and poor, black and white, man and woman, and so forth, leaving him with a great potential to create his own values and beliefs. So, since we are all fools, we ought to strive to remain foolish in relation to how to fight dogmas and behold an open and light-spirited life approach. Having said that, I do acknowledge the utopian notion of going through life without bouncing into the limitations and reductions of, for instance, economy, race, and gender. However, this performance strives to encourage and embrace the freedom of the Fool. You all know the April Fool's Day, the one day of the year on which it is commonly accepted, or even expected, to pull each other's legs, telling stories that are fictitious and simply not true. Official newspapers, television and radio programs, as well as individuals out doing pranks. And within this concept, it's possible to tease and mislead one another. Despite the innocent prank-like approach, one could claim that psychologically and society-wise, the April Fool's Day serves as outlet for moral and ethic restrictions put on us by norms and society. And the phenomena dates back quite a long time. In medieval times, this particular day was celebrated with practical jokes. In South Korea, for example, a country for reasons quite obvious, at least to myself, I refer to every now and then. During the Joseon dynasty, the royal family and courtiers were allowed to lie to and fool each other, regardless of character, on the first snow day of the year. They would stuff snow inside a ball and send it to the victim of the prank with fake excuses. The recipient of the snow was thought to be the loser of the game, just like a person who believes an untrue story on the 1st of April is considered to be an April's fool. In my early childhood, I remember my mother and I doing innocent jokes on this particular day. We would say, "Look, there's a pink elephant outside the window," or "I just saw a flying cat." And I looked outside the window, kind of expecting to see a pink elephant, which I did not. Or did I? In the case of the Fool, though, he constantly drew attention towards pink elephants everywhere, whether it was in the royal court, in the marketplace, or elsewhere. However, in a more figurative manner. But to return to the tarot and the Fool is now about to meet the magician. Obviously, the magician knows his tricks, and he has a wand. And being extremely powerful, he's not afraid to use his skills. Unlike the fool, however, the magician is a slightly more stable character. Literally, the magician is standing still. He's not on the move like the fool, which is why the fool is able to meet him in the first place. When meeting one another, the magician mesmerizes the fool, and upon asked, the fool hands over his stick and bundle to the magician. The magician then point his wand to the sky and one finger to the ground, calling on all powers. And magically, the bundle unfolds, revealing its content. And to the fool, it seems like the magician has created the future within a second. All the possibilities and necessities for a prosperous and enlightened life are laid out. The airy sword of intellect and communication. The fiery wand of spirituality and ambition. The cup of love and emotion. And the solid pentacle of precision, work, and body. With these tools, the fool can create anything of his life, since all four